Hi everyone, welcome to our weekly Facebook and Instagram Live. Hi Precious, how are you? Nice to see so many of you on. Hey Joseph, good to see you on. I am super excited to be here. This is Christine Daal from Fashion Angel Warrior, and you're listening to our weekly Facebook and Instagram Live. And if you're on Facebook, that means you're inside our exclusive Fearless Fashionpreneur group. So congrats to you. We have an awesome community over there. If you are on Instagram and you're not inside our Fearless Fashionpreneur group, I definitely highly suggest you head on over there and join it because we do lots of great stuff. We've got great community. People are having awesome things happen in their business and everyone's helping each other out, so it's awesome. So tonight we're going to talk about how to nail networking events. I don't know about you, but I'm not a big fan of networking events. And I actually get a little nervous and introverted. So we're going to talk about that. Before we do, just note that if you are on Instagram, this video will be deleted at the end of this broadcast. And so if you miss any of it and you want to go back, definitely make sure to head on over to the Fearless Fashionpreneur Facebook group and you can watch the videos there. Good to see you. Yes, I'm doing good. Nitika, hey, how are you? Good to see you on, girl. Nitika's having some awesome success with the group. Awesome. Okay. So yes, give me your hearts. Give me your thumbs up. I love it. It's like oxygen to me. I need it, people. So it's not fun to talk to yourself. I definitely want to hear from you. Also, as we go along, if you have any questions, type them in the question box, in the comment box, I should say, below. We're not on a webinar, so there's no question box. And definitely I will answer them. If it's not pertaining to this Facebook Live topic, we'll answer them on our next Q&A call, okay? Also, I'll just let you know a little sneak peek for next week. We are doing a Facebook Live interview with a famous fashion designer. I'm super excited. We'll be going on location to her New York City boutique. So definitely be sure to tune in next Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You don't want to miss that, okay? All right, I think that's all of our announcements. Oh, also don't forget to share this video, okay? And if you do share it, type shared in the comments. You can only share it on Facebook, not on Instagram. So you might want to head over to Facebook right now and share it because I'm going to give you my notes with all of the tips and tricks that we talk about tonight if you do share it. So type in shared at the bottom and I will send you all the notes. Hey, Boss Studio, how are you? Hey, Aisha, Daniela, good to see you girls on. All right, so we're going to talk about networking, but first, before we do, how many of you hate networking events? I want to hear from you. Type in yes or no. Yes, you hate them. No, you don't hate them. April, how are you? Lana Dean, how are you? Okay, who hates networking events? Yes or no? Or you dislike them. Hate is a very strong word, so I want to hear from at least 3 people. Type in yes, or you hate them, or no, you like them. It's a little delayed, so I'm going to wait for you guys. Fashion by Precious. She hates them. Okay. I don't blame you, girl. Who else? Let's hear from you. I want to hear from some people. We've got a lot of people on tonight. You like networking events or you do not like networking events? I know there's a little bit of a delay, so I'm going to wait. Let me know. Yes, they make me nervous, Tiffany says. Yes, okay. I agree. They make me nervous too. All right, one more person and then I will move on. If you want all the tips, you got to respond. This is interactive, people. Serpa, how are you? Nice to see you on. Good to see you. Let me know. You enjoy networking events or you do not enjoy networking events. Who gets nervous? Who gets scared? Who gets fearful? Whose stomach turns to knots? Who starts to sweat like to death when they enter a networking event? Revel Dancewear, yes, how are you, girl? Good to see you. We're talking about networking events. I need one more person to respond before I move on. Who enjoys networking events? Who does not enjoy networking events? Type in yes, you enjoy, or no, you do not enjoy. I think that's better than like or dislike. Awesome, glad to hear from you. Yay. She enjoys them. Okay, we have one person that enjoys them. Awesome. Well, we'll see what you think at the end of this. Hopefully this still helps you. Awesome. So Yes, a lot of us get nervous, get fearful. I am actually very introverted, believe it or not. I'm not a social person. I really have to work hard to be social, and I have to force myself to be social. And it's not something that comes easy to me. I have to definitely work at it. My husband is super, super easy at being social. He's very outgoing. It's very natural. He's great at building relationships and talking to people. I sometimes get a little awkward, so I have to work hard and prepare. So I'm going to give you some of my tips in case you're also in the same boat and it's also difficult for you to network. Obviously, I don't think I need to say this, but it's very important that you are networking as business owners, as entrepreneurs, as maybe anybody that's just in the fashion industry or trying to get into the fashion industry. It's very important that you're networking on a consistent basis. Networking is great for opportunities, whether it's job opportunities or just clients and customer opportunities. It's great for referrals. It's even just great to get business advice, general life advice, different perspectives on things, resources, connections. So there's a lot of really great benefits to networking. So you have to get outside of your comfort zone and go to some of these networking events, okay? But definitely you can overcome your fear and nervousness by proper preparation, obviously the right mindset, and the proper tools, which I'm going to give you right now. So everyone ready? Let's jump in. So your pregame, what should you be doing before you go to a networking event? Number one, you should be doing your homework, right? So number one, you know, look up some current events that are going on. I'm really bad with the news. I don't watch the news at all. I get all of my news from my husband. So I typically like to kind of brush up on what's going on in the world a little bit so that you can sound somewhat intelligent if that topic of conversation does come up. Also, just think about in general, what's going on in your business? What happened during that week? Did you have a client success story or a customer that loved one of your items, or maybe you found a really great resource or a tool that you can share with someone at the networking event, or an app that you just discovered that's awesome, right? So do a little bit of homework. Also, read up on the people that are going to be at the event. It's so easy to find out these days with social media and LinkedIn. You can almost always find out someone that's going to be at the event, at the very least the host of the event or the speakers, and read up on them. Find out what you might have in common with them. Find out what similarities you might have that you can start to talk about when you do eventually talk to them. Hey girl, Bejeweled Couture, how are you? I see that you changed your name, Monica. Okay, anyway. So number two, plan some easy questions to ask, okay? It's really great to have some questions in your back pocket that you can easily whip out at any time that work in almost every situation, okay? So here's 10 that I like to use, okay? Number one, how did you hear about the event? That's like the most easiest basic question that you can ask at networking events, right? So you see someone, you're there, they're there. How did you find out about this thing? That's like the first easiest question you could possibly ask. Or how do you know the host, right? That's another really good question. And obviously it's a question that you can ask them, they can ask you, right? You guys can kind of start a little conversation. Number three, where are you from or where do you live? Especially if you are in the New York City area, most people in this area are not actually from this area. So I love asking that question because it's interesting to just know where people are from. Like, how did you get to New York City? I'm from Pennsylvania, by the way, in case anyone was wondering. But yeah, so I just think that's always a cool question to ask. My husband is from Curacao, which is super awesome and unique, and there's no one ever in New York City that's from Curacao. So that's always a great topic of conversation whenever he's out and talking to people. So yeah, ask people where they're from. Number four, have you read any good books recently? So most business owners like to read books. And so that's a really great question to ask. Or maybe you want to ask something along the lines of what's a great resource, or what blogs do you read, or what podcasts do you listen to? You know, I'm always looking for a great podcast to listen to or blog to read. So I think those are great questions to ask and pretty easy. If it's towards the end of the event, you could always ask something like, what did you think of the event? Or if there's like a presentation or a speaker, you could always ask, what did you think of the presentation? What did you think of the speaker? You know, that can kind of get the conversation going, right? Number 7 is one of my favorites. The question is, what's your story, right? So everyone always asks the question, what do you do? And I used to love that question until I really understood the meaning behind it. And now I hate that question, because really, when someone asks what you do, what they're really saying is, I want to see if you are worth spending my time with. Like, I want to assess your situation and see whether it's worth it for me to continue the conversation with you. And that's kind of not the right mindset to have. And we're going to go into mindset a little bit too. But you really don't want to come across that way. And you don't want to look at people that way. Like, it makes me think like I'm a piece of meat or I'm a dollar sign to you. Like, and that's not what networking is really about. You might not make the sale right there on the spot. Most likely you will not make a sale right on the spot. But you don't know who that person knows, who they know, right? The 6 degrees of separation thing. They could introduce you to a buyer that could end up buying 500 to 1,000 pieces of your garments and putting them in their store, right? Based off of one person that you talked to at an event. Maybe you didn't even like that person, but who do they know? Right? So what's your story is a great question because people love to talk about themselves. And if they start talking about themselves, it's great because you can be an active listener and then think of more questions to talk about and ask them about, right? So what's your story? Number 8, obviously when they do start to get into what did they do and what their story is, how did you get involved in this field? How did you get involved in this career path? What made you decide to do what you like to do, right? These are always all good questions. And then, of course, you could always ask them, like, what projects are you currently working on right now? What do you have coming down the pipeline? What's coming next for you, right? We're coming to the end of the year. Like, what's coming next for you in 2018? Oh, great. I'm so glad that you guys are loving these questions. Definitely give me your hearts. Give me your thumbs up. Comments are all welcome while we're talking here, okay? I'm going to go pretty fast because we have a lot of information to cover and not a lot of time. Okay. Number 3, very important pre-game tactic. Plan your outfit. I think this is a little self-explanatory, especially for all you fashionistas, but I'm going to mention it anyway. First impression is key, and 55% of your first impression is based off of what you wear alone. It's very sad. It's true. We live in a materialistic world, okay? And it's very superficial. So people are going to judge you based on what you're wearing, so you better look good. And if you need some help, definitely check out the blog on our website called Personal Branding. I'll put a link below. And if you really need further help, definitely hire an image consultant because they can work with you and help you to really understand what colors work the best for you. In general, you want to wear colors that are low intensity, contrast, that are very soft or muted, right? You don't want to typically wear anything harsh. Although I will say that I like to wear very bold, bright colors when I go to networking events. And part of the reason is, 1, it helps you to make you stand out. And number 2, it leaves a memorable impression. So orange is a really great color to wear to a networking event because it's very energetic and it creates connection. People are just naturally drawn to that color and it's warm, right? So I'm not a warm person. Like, my skin tone, I look much better in cooler colors. However, I would make an exception and wear orange to a networking event because it'll definitely make you stand out. Trust me, no one else will be wearing orange, okay? The one color you do not want to wear, however, is black. And I know all of you women and New Yorkers, you love your black, black, black. Okay, I have a lot of problems with black, and that's a whole other conversation. But basically, for networking events, it's not good because you come off as very authoritative and unapproachable. And people will not want to come up to you because they'll be intimidated by you. So you just don't want to wear black, okay? And you want to pick something that makes you feel good because the more confidence you have in this type of a situation where you're already kind of feeling a little uneasy, you don't know anyone, right? It's definitely going to help you. Okay. And number 4, you want to have the right mindset. Again, going back to the whole attitude that you want to have going into the networking event, right? You don't want to be looking at people like dollar signs or like they're a piece of meat, right? You want to look at them like, how can I serve you? I'm here to help. I'm not here to take, I'm here to give, right? And so one of the questions I always ask, I ask all my clients, I ask when I'm networking, is how can I help you? And people will be shocked. If you ask them that question, they will be totally thrown off. Like, you mean you don't want to know what I do for a living? You'd rather just help me? Like, you're not trying to get something from me? Like, they will be really, really shocked that you asked that question. So I always like to ask, how can I help? Or what is it that you need right now in your business in order for your business to move forward? Or what is it that you need right now in order to move forward in your business? And really get down to the core of what their needs are. And then how can you connect them with people, right? Think of yourself as like a connector. Like, it's your job to connect the dots, right? So if someone's looking for a social media guru, you know someone. If someone's looking for a photographer, you know someone, right? So how can you connect the dots and be that connector at the networking event, right? And of course, over-deliver, add value. Try to think of this not as networking, but more as collaborating. And that's kind of how the whole collab and create events were created which are my networking events. And if you want to join those, just make sure to join the meetup group. Okay, number 5, make sure you bring your business cards. Self-explanatory, but everyone always forgets their business cards. And please, please have some kind of professional case to carry them in that looks nice, okay? That keeps them protected, that they won't be damaged in your purse or have like bent edges, okay? This is very professional and you want to act professional. Okay, so that's the pregame. 5 tips. Now, during the event, number 1, arrive early. Everyone wants to arrive late. They don't want to be the first one there. They don't want to be sitting there twiddling their thumbs, but I'll explain why it's actually better to arrive early. If you arrive early, no one's really formed their little cliques yet in their little groups. So you can actually be the first one to talk to someone, right? And form your own little group or clique. So it's actually better to get there early. It's also usually a little bit quieter, that sort of thing. Number 2, body language. So we already talked about 55% being based on your first impression being based off of your clothing. So 38%, the next portion, is actually based off of body language. So body language is really super important. So number 1, smile. Believe it or not, a smile on your face gets you a really long way at a networking event. Look people in the eye, shake their hands. You know, all of this is very important. Don't cross your arms, right? That's kind of sends the message that you're kind of being closed. You know, don't look at the floor. Don't look at your phone. Don't start gazing off when someone's talking to you, right? Like, you want to be attentive and show that you're approachable and you want to talk to people. Number 3, start the conversation, right? So how do you start the conversation? I always say, don't wait for someone to come up to you, just go up to them, okay? Don't be shy, just bite the bullet, be courageous, and go up to somebody. Hey, Cleo, how are you? Hey, Candy. So glad to see so many of you on tonight. So just bite the bullet and go up to somebody, okay? At a networking event, I always say try to find one person that's alone, or if there's not one person alone, try to find an odd numbered group, okay? So you don't want to go up to a group where there's 2 people and then you're the 3rd person, right? You want to go up to a group where there's 3 people and you're now the 4th person. And I'll explain why odd number groups are better. So odd groups are better because one person in that group can't be making eye contact at the same time, right? So you can only connect your eyes with one other person. So if there's an odd number, one person is technically not making eye contact with another, and most likely one person is kind of outside of the conversation. So you can actually kind of approach the group and join with that odd person. You can kind of figure out, if you watch the conversation going on for a little while, who that odd person is, make eye contact with them, and then as you head over to the group, just politely ask, may I join you, right? So you want to be polite. You don't want to interrupt people. You don't want to like crash the conversation, right? So just politely ask, may I join you? And usually they're going to say yes, and then everyone's going to go around and start introducing themselves. So also, as you introduce yourself, say your first and your last name. So I don't say, hi, I'm Christine. I say, hi, I'm Christine Daal, or Christine Daal, as I'm like shaking their hand, right? So believe it or not, by saying your last name, you're actually making yourself sound more important, right? Like there's a million Christines in the world, but there's no Christine Daals. Trust me, I've already looked. So you're making yourself sound important, right? Like I'm sure if, you know, Barack Obama was introducing himself, he wouldn't say, hi, I'm a Barack. He'd say, hi, I'm Barack Obama. Whoops. Okay, I'm back. So say your first and last name. Also repeat that person's name if you're trying to memorize it, which you should be, because it's very important that you make people feel special and feel important, and they will remember if you remember their name. Trust me, because most people are bad at remembering names. So when someone introduces themselves to me, I always try to repeat their name immediately. So, hi, I'm Christine Daal. Hi, I'm Suzanne. Hi, Suzanne. Nice to meet you, right? So you repeat their name immediately right there. And then if you're going to ask them a question, try to say their name again. So Suzanne, what do you like to do for fun? Or what books do you like to read? Or, you know, okay, so you're repeating their name at least another time. And if you think you have a really hard time remembering their name, try to make it rhyme with something or create some kind of a visual pictorial image that will help you remember their name a little bit better, right? So if they have some crazy name, like, I think I met a guy like Ramdekar one time, and I was like, okay, car, automobile, right? Got that part. And then Ram, like ramen noodles. and then duh, like duh, you know, and Ram Dakar, you know, and you just kind of put it all together, right? So you think of creative ways to remember people's names. Okay, and also compliments always work. So especially for women complimenting women, great, no problem. Oh, I love that blouse. Where'd you get it from? Or that necklace is so gorgeous. It really compliments your eyes. I love it. Where is it from? You know, any kind of compliment with women is great. Obviously with men, you want to be a little careful. They might think you're hitting on them. And then obviously vice versa. For a man to compliment a woman, you want to be a little bit careful there. I will also say that body language, or I'm sorry, since we talked about body language being the 38%, the other 7% is really what you say. So out of all three, what you're wearing is actually the most important, 55% of the first impression. Your body language is the second most important, 38%. And really what you're saying doesn't really matter. It's 7% of the puzzle. So don't get so hung up on what you're saying. A lot of people are like, oh, I don't know if I'm sounding good, whatever. Forget it, okay? Your body language and what you're wearing is actually way more important. Now, during the conversation, try to let the other person speak first. And you'll actually benefit from this if it happens this way, because most of the time, whenever someone else is speaking, the other person is mentally, in their mind, subconsciously, trying to think of what they're going to say next, right? Ah, so glad you're liking the tips, Monica. Hey, Ryan, how are you? Good to see you on. So when you're networking, you know, you want that person's undivided attention. So in order to get their undivided attention, it's great to have them go first. Then they're already done talking. And by the time you start to talk, they're not thinking about, oh, what am I going to say next? Because they've already gone, right? They've already said their spiel. So if you can get the other person to talk first, that will actually be good. Obviously, good listening skills are really, really key here. I would say try to listen more than talk. Try to have the other person talk more than you do. Give that person your undivided attention. Don't be checking your cell phone. Ask really thoughtful questions. And obviously, make sure you're not interrupting other people while they're having a conversation, right? Number 5, make it about them, not about you, right? So your job is to make people feel special. If someone feels special, they're definitely going to remember you, number 1. And they're going to want to repay you, right? And so they could repay you in a number of ways, by having coffee with you, by introducing you to somebody in their network, by, you know, setting up something for you, or you just never know how they're going to repay you, right? So definitely you want to make people feel special, and don't hijack the conversation and talk all about yourself, okay? It's all about them, not about you. How can you serve them? How can you help them, right? The more helpful you are, the more people will remember you and feel like they have to repay you. Number 6, don't hard sell, okay? This is not a selling event. This is not sales, okay? It's about building relationships, and people want to buy from people that they know, like, and trust, right? The KLT factor. I talk about this all the time with you guys. So the KLT factor only happens if they know, like, and trust you, and they can't know, like, and trust you until they have a relationship with you. So it's very important that you build that relationship, and it doesn't happen in a day, okay? It's like going up to somebody that you want to get married to and skipping the whole dating part and say, hey, want to get married tomorrow? Like, it doesn't happen that way, typically speaking. You have to date first. So this is dating. This is the courting period, right? But it's for a personal relationship, or I'm sorry, it's for a business relationship, not a personal relationship. And I'm so glad that you guys are liking these tips. Don't forget to share this video. Type shared in the comments on Facebook so that I can send you all the notes so that you have all of these great, amazing tips. Okay. Number 7, craft your story, right? So you should have already kind of prepared your story ahead of time, and maybe I should have put this in the pregame part. But you want to kind of have a little, I like to say, a little elevator pitch, and also a little bit of a longer story that's really a story that you can tell, that really shows your passion and shows how you got started with your business, right? So depending on the situation and how much time you have to tell someone, if someone does ask you the question, what do? You want to be prepared. And as a fashion designer, you want to have that 1 to 2 sentence statement that will evoke exactly what type of clothing you create, that someone can picture in their mind, right? So I shouldn't have to guess what it is that you're doing or be confused about what it is you're doing. Like, it should be very, very clear and succinct. Like, I make denim dresses for the 20 to 35 something girl that hang well with Theory and DVF. boom, I have a picture in my head, right? So you should be able to have like one of those little one-liner sentences that succinctly tells what type of line you do without having to show someone a picture or take them to your Instagram page. Of course, you can do that later if they ask to see pictures, but you don't want to whip out your phone and be like, oh, let me just show you. Like, that's not really the right way, okay? Awesome. Cleo says so true. Yes. Okay, so that's what you should be doing during the event. Those are my 7 tips. And then now for the after party, or after the event, I should say. So number 1, you should be taking notes. And what I like to do is you don't want to be taking notes during the event. So as you're meeting people, and depending on your memory, how good of memory you have, and how often you're meeting people at the event, and how many people you meet at the event, you might be able to wait until the entire event is over, and then maybe on your ride home, if you're taking the subway, or on your way out of the event, you can jot down some notes either in a notepad, or what I like to do is actually write on the person's business card something I remember about them, something that I want to follow up with them, and then I also write the date and the name of the networking event where I met them, and I do that on all the business cards. Now for me, my memory is also not that good, so sometimes I run into the restroom if I've met like 3 people, write down some stuff, come back out, meet some more people, go back to the restroom, right? And kind of do it that way if you don't have a good memory. But you just don't want to do it during the event or have you see people like, you know, whip out a notepad and start taking notes while you're talking to somebody, okay? That's not typically a good idea. Okay, number 2, the fortune is in the follow-up. I cannot stress this enough, that the follow-up is, I would say, probably the main part of networking, okay? The event is just like the teaser, all right? The follow-up is the meat. It's really where you're going to get the most benefit out of what you just put into the networking event, okay? So follow-up, I say 24 to 48 hours max. Do not follow up past that timeline. And of course, weekends don't count. So if you went to an event on a Thursday, you could follow up Friday or the following Monday, okay? Don't send emails over the weekend. No one's gonna look at them. Definitely reference something that you talked about. Make it very personal. Don't send a generic kind of cut and paste email when you're following up with people that you met at a networking event. And then, oops, sorry, my storage on my iPad, it's getting low. And then also be sure to just have integrity. Like if you said you're going to do something, do it, right? So if you said you're going to follow up with someone or connect them with someone, make sure you make that introduction. You know, write that email introduction and email both people and CC them both and introduce them, right? Do whatever it is that you said you're going to do. And then number 3, the third thing I like to do after events is to keep that conversation going, to keep that relationship building, right? To kind of stoke the flame of that relationship, right? So maybe you want to set up a time to call the person, or maybe you set up a time to have coffee with them, if it makes sense, okay? One thing I will say, do not say to someone, oh, let's have coffee so I can pick your brain. That's not a good thing to say, okay? And most business owners or people who are very, I should say, have a very large network are not going to have time to have coffee with you, okay? And they don't want to be asked 1,000,001 questions. So anyone that's worth anything probably will not have coffee with you. Like people ask me all the time to have coffee with me, and I'm like, no, I can't afford to have coffee with you. I don't have 20 minutes in my day to have coffee with every single person that asks me to have coffee, okay? Part of the reason I do these Facebook Lives is so that I can do it for a lot of people, and you can get the benefit of asking questions and things on a weekly basis from me without having me getting 20,000 emails from everyone, okay? So you want to respect the person's time, definitely. But if you guys agreed to have coffee, or you talked about having coffee, or you talked about having a call, you know, then obviously set that up. And then always keep them in the front of your mind. So if there's any way that you can, you know, you read an article and it reminds you of something that you talked about with them, forward them the article, share the article with them. You know, if there's any way that you can continue kind of that relationship building, connecting them with someone, you know, that's going to help you eventually grow your network even more. And so finally, to wrap things up, here are my last 13 tips. We'll go through these really fast. That are just general good tips. Number 1, groups are better than cold one-off type networking events. So if you're not great at networking, you might want to think about joining a group, something like a meetup group, which meets consistently and it's always the same people, or generally speaking the same people. So you can kind of really build a relationship with them faster that way, instead of going to these one-off events where you never know who's going to be there. You never know if it's even going to be somebody you want to talk to. It's different people every time, right? That sort of thing. I did at one point join BNI, which is Business Networking International, which is great. I highly recommend it. They are all over the world, believe it or not. And so most likely they have one in your city or not far from your city. And they are great. They're really super great. And it's the same people every week, which is awesome. And it's referral based and everybody kind of helps each other out. So it's awesome. Number 2, skip the networking events with alcohol. I generally don't like them. You'll normally have some crazy guy that gets drunk and starts hitting on you, right? So I just don't like to go to the ones with alcohol. Business is business. Pleasure is pleasure. I try to keep them separately. Number 3, don't go with friends, okay? Resist the urge to bring a buddy along with you, because most likely if you do bring a buddy, you're going to spend the whole night with your buddy and you're not going to go outside your comfort zone and talk to anyone. So try not to bring your friend. Now, I will say I don't always follow this rule because I do bring my husband to a lot of events, and I do that for a number of reasons. Number 1, he's better at me at making conversation. And so sometimes I will let him network for me and he'll kind of rope me into the conversation and then I'll end up meeting the person. Number 2, kind of as a bodyguard, because I do get hit on occasionally. And so it's nice to have my husband there to represent. And so that's why I like to bring him to events. So, and he doesn't have anything to do with fashion. So it's kind of nice to have an outsider who is completely not relevant. But generally speaking, don't bring a buddy or a friend. Number 4, find the super connectors in the group. So if you can figure out who is the most connected person or who has the biggest network, you're probably going to want to network with them first, because they're going to be able to help you the most and have the biggest network to kind of pull from to introduce you to the right people, right? If you are at a seminar, this is a good tip. If you take a break, like for lunch or bathroom break or whatever the case may be, when you come back, choose to sit in a different seat. And there's a number of reasons for that. Number 1, it actually helps your brain not like zone out, right? So you'll pay attention more to what's being taught at the presentation. And number 2, you'll most likely sit next to or around more different people that you can then talk to and network with. I actually love networking at presentation type events or lectures, because not only are you there to learn, but you're there also to network, and it's a great opportunity. Number 6, if you need to get out of a conversation for any reason, which often happens, maybe the person is boring you to death, maybe they're talking so much, maybe they're trying to sell you, maybe they're hitting on you, could be a number of reasons. There's a couple things you could do. So you could kind of wait for a slight pause in the conversation and then excuse yourself to go get a drink or go get more food or go to the restroom, right? So you could kind of make it out that way. You could kind of start to shift your body language and kind of look away a little bit. You want to do that very slightly. You don't want the person to think you're totally zoning them out, but you know, look away a little bit, shift your body a little bit away from them. Your body language is very important, so that will kind of help. And you also could, if you do have a buddy there or you plan on having a buddy there, use your buddy as a wingman, right? Or a wing woman. And similar to how you would act if you were dating or trying to talk to somebody at a, you know, whatever that you're interested in, you know, have a little hand signal or something like, hey, save me from this conversation, right? And you put up your little signal, maybe it's like this, that's one of my signals. And the person comes over and, you know, they have to talk to you and they have to interrupt the conversation and they need to talk to you, whatever the case may be. So your friend could save you, okay? So it is easy to get out of a bad conversation. Don't worry about it. It's not that big of a deal. Number 7, don't only go for the speaker. Talk to everyone else in the room too. So a lot of people will like jam the speaker or bum rush the speaker as soon as they're done speaking because they want to talk to that person. But everyone else in the room is just as important. So don't always go for the speaker. Number 8, make friends with the host. That's really great because the host will most likely introduce you to someone else at the event. And that's going to be a good way to get things started, right? So if you are there early and you do arrive early, most likely the host is there. They're always there setting up. So talk to them first and tell them a little bit about yourself, find out about them, and then most likely they'll say, oh, so-and-so is going to be here. Make sure I introduce you to them, or I want to introduce you to them, and they'll introduce you, right? Number 9, obviously the more practice, the better you'll be. So don't give up if you go to your first networking event and you bomb it, okay? Just keep practicing. It does get better. This is something you can learn. This is a skill that can be learned. It doesn't have to be innate within you, okay? What are we on? 10, act like you're the host. So this is always a good mindset to do, and I try to do this when I go to networking events, is act like you're the host, right? If you were the host of a networking event, how would you act? You would go around introducing yourself to everybody, welcoming them to the event, making sure that they have everything that they need, right? So being serving and not taking, right? So that's kind of the mindset. So act like you're the host. Number 11, if you really do hate networking events, you can always throw your own event and then you really are the host, which is often what I like to do, which is why I like to do the collab and create networking events, because I do like to be the host, and it is a lot easier to be the host than it is to be an attendee. And so you could throw your own event. Number 12, if you really, really hate networking events altogether and events altogether, start out with Facebook, okay? Social media has made it so easy to network, it's ridiculous. Start out with Facebook, start reconnecting with old friends. You could even look in your network who already is in your network already, who has the most highest friend count. You can look at that on Facebook and start to PM them and ask them for things that you're looking for, people that you need to be introduced to. Or you could even just post a general recommendation post like, hey, who knows, someone who works at DVF or Donna Karen or whatever, if you're looking for a job or you're looking to meet a buyer or whatever it is, you could post a general recommendation post and see who writes back and get some referrals that way. Number 13, last but not least, always be networking, okay? It's kind of like always be closing for sales. I changed it a little bit to always be networking. So I don't really go to a lot of networking events, specifically networking events anymore, but I am always networking. No matter if I'm going to a lecture, no matter if I'm going to a fashion party, no matter if I'm going to the gym or the grocery store, or I'm on the train or I'm on a plane, right? So you can literally be networking everywhere you go. It doesn't have to be at a designated networking event. And it's just a general mindset, like how can you help people? And in return, they'll help you. So those are my tips for nailing networking events. I hope you guys all enjoyed it. Give me your thumbs up, give me your hearts. Let me know how I'm doing here. If you loved this presentation and you want the notes, don't forget to share this video and type shared in the comments and I will send you the notes, okay? What else did I want to say? Last but not least, don't forget to tune in next week, Tuesday, same time, same place. We are going to do a Facebook Live interview with a famous fashion designer on location in New York City at her Upper East Side boutique. So I'm super excited. I'm not going to reveal who it is just yet, but definitely you don't want to miss it. I'm trying to do Facebook Live interviews, and Instagram. Oh, my storage keeps getting full. Facebook and Instagram Live interviews once a month. So we're going to do those with famous fashion designers, people in the industry, so that you guys can really ask questions and get some insider insight, okay? Yay, I'm so glad that you guys liked it and you enjoyed it. Don't forget to share it. And what else is going on? Also, just a little sneak peek. I'm thinking about doing like a business roundtable starting next year, kind of like a mastermind group. So anyone that might be interested in that, let me know. You can message me wherever I'm easily found. Yeah, I'm thinking about doing a little roundtable action. Like I used to be part of a business mastermind roundtable type of a group. It was like 8 individuals. We were all business owners. We had been in business for so many years, et cetera, et cetera. So there are a little bit of requirements that I will make for the group to be a member of the group. But we met once a week. We could also meet once a month. We did it over the phone, but I actually kind of want to do this in person if there's enough people in New York City area to join. But yeah, so I'm thinking about doing a little business roundtable. So let's see who's interested. We probably would meet maybe 6 times, once a month for 6 months. So let me know if that's something that would interest you. And of course, any questions that you have, don't forget to type them in at any time using the hashtag AskFaw. That's AskFAW. You can post them at any time and we'll answer them on the next Q&A, which will probably be in 2 weeks, I'm assuming. And that's it. I know, Cleo, you're not in New York, but if I do it virtual, you could join. Let me know if you'd join if it was virtual, okay? But I might make the restrictions very high. So you might have to be in business for 2 years, already have your product, already be selling, have your website up and running, that sort of thing, right? So it's not going to be for beginners. It's going to be more for the advanced people that are already in business and are now experiencing some struggles, mistakes, pitfalls, hurdles, that sort of thing, okay? But let me know if you're interested. Yes, you're interested in virtual. Got it. Awesome. All right, guys, we're way over time. I gave you so much great information. I hope you got a lot out of it. If you want the notes, if you want those top 10 questions to have in your back pocket, if you want to know how to prepare and have everything written down in your phone, email me, share this video, and I will be sure to send it to you. Last but not least, don't forget to do whatever it takes. As a true warrior doesn't just do their best, they do whatever it takes. All right, I love you all. I'll see you next week, Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Instagram and Facebook inside the Fearless Fashionpreneur group. Bye for now.